Yes, everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be reacting to the massive news that was breaking yesterday that Manchester United have secured more land in their bid to build the new 100,000-seater stadium that is supposed to replace Old Trafford. This is a controversial one amongst us Reds because even when they did the new stadium announcement, remember they did the Q&As and sent them out to all the members, and people had to answer their questions on the new stadium, like whether they would want one, whether they would want Old Trafford to be refurbished or regenerated. And eventually they came to the decision that it would be more cost effective for United to build a new stadium. Now this is going to split the fan base. It's definitely going to split the fan base. Now I definitely know at the time when they did those surveys, I do feel like a lot of people were leaning to the idea that we needed a new stadium. I think as well it was kind of current events that the old stadium was decrepit and falling apart, and that a lot of people seemed quite unhappy with the public image that it was leaving the club. But this is all down to the Glazers. So really and truly, if you've got a problem with this new Old Trafford and United moving out of Old Trafford, then you need to direct your anger at the Glazers, because if they didn't let the stadium get to the point that it got to, that this would never really have to have been a conversation. But yeah, I'm going to get into what the actual article says. So United have released this article, and it's from the Communications Department of United. It says Manchester United has secured the majority of the land required to build a new 100,000-seater stadium, marking a major milestone in the long-term vision to transform Old Trafford. Now, this really is a major milestone because Manchester United have been at Old Trafford since 1910. Old Trafford's been through world wars. Old Trafford has been bombed and been rebuilt. The history of Old Trafford, it really is an amazing place, and you can feel it every single time you step into the ground. So that is gonna be a feeling that people miss. Like the whole soulless bowl argument that you see on Twitter about new stadiums, it does apply. It does apply if you get it wrong. Obviously, West Ham moved into the Olympic Stadium, which was built for the 2012 Olympics in London, and they repurposed it for football. And because of the distance from the fans and just the fact that West Ham have never really had it feel like home there, look at how their fortunes have wavered since they've moved to that stadium. Like West Ham at Upton Park was definitely a much more scary proposition in my mind than going to West Ham at this new London stadium. So you have to be careful that you don't kill your atmosphere and almost make it a bigger problem than it is a solution. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, clubs want to get new stadiums to increase their revenues and build into the future, but you can't always guarantee that the fan base is going to be on side. That is one thing that I did like when they did the questionnaire to the members about the stadium. But there were going to be a lot of supporters groups who are really not happy with this. I believe I already saw the 1958 talking about how a high percentage of youth season ticket holders don't want to move from Old Trafford. And to be honest, I understand it. I do understand it. I mean, I've been at Old Trafford. When you've been to Old Trafford and you go there all the time and you see those last-minute winners and you're at games like, I wasn't at the Leon game, by the way, but I've seen last-minute. I was at Atalanta, for example, when Ronaldo scored the last-minute winner. These kind of things, those feelings, it's just different at Old Trafford. And like when the stadium's up for it, it honestly doesn't compare to anywhere else. It almost feels like the ball's being sucked in the net by the fans, like genuinely. And obviously I know people say that about a lot of stadiums, but the Leon game I think is the best example for that, because we should never ever have gone through that game once we went down. Once Cherki's scored there and you think that's it, then we should never. And it's just Old Trafford, the atmosphere was just ridiculous, and it's irreplaceable. Do you know what I mean? So I definitely understand the concerns of the fan base, and I definitely think that fans are right to have a concern. Another concern that people are going to have with this is season ticket costs. Now, United got rid of concessions, Ineos got rid of concessions when they became owners and started running the football part of the club. But I personally think that was a really bad thing that Ineos did. Like, concessions was the reason that I could afford to have my season ticket. So when I was up until the age of like 21, I could go to United and I could afford to get my season ticket off my part-time job. And then once I started working full-time and having bills and responsibilities to pay for, United became a bit more of a struggle. And then after the concession season, so I can't remember how old I was, but I think it was once I turned 21, it went from being like a 21 ticket to literally being like a full-size adult ticket. And my ticket went from being £480 to needing to pay like 800 quid. And I used to sit in the northwest quadrant, so I'll put a picture of my season ticket seat up and where it was. So I used to sit in a relatively expensive part of the stadium anyway, but yeah, like, it made it unaffordable. So the removal of concessions, it really is a thing that affects day-to-day fans, and this is something for me that I have felt firsthand. Like, it's especially as a fan who doesn't live in Manchester, so being a fan from Birmingham, as you can obviously hear, it costs more money when the tickets are more expensive, a lot more money. Like, a ticket now is £66, and if you're going to go to a game, especially travelling out of the city, you're going to need the travel. You're going to need, if you're staying somewhere, accommodation. But a lot of people don't stay. I never used to stay. I used to come straight back to Birmingham. So travel, the ticket cost, then drinks, food, and all that when you're out there, it all adds up. And anybody who's under the illusion that this new stadium's being built and the food and the drinks and the tickets and stuff are going to get cheaper or be more affordable because there's more seats in the stadium, you're an idiot if you believe that. Like, it's not going to be cheaper, it's going to be more expensive, 100%. How do you think they're going to bankroll all of this? They're saying that this is going to get built down the road from where Old Trafford is. So I can see a world where the current matchday experience at this Old Trafford now is more expensive to fund the new Old Trafford. So it's really an interesting one, and I'm really, really interested to see what the United fans feel like as it develops. I said in my YouTube short when I covered this that we'd acquired the land that Freightliner had been obviously bartering with us over, but actually never went down that way. So I thought that we'd acquired the land from Freightliner. That's what I thought the announcement was when I first saw the announcement. So I reacted to it literally as soon as it came out. But the reaction, what we actually did, so the reaction to Freightliner trying to extort us for the land in between and around Old Trafford, basically United just bought different land. So we bought a different plot of land. I'll put it up on the screen, the plot of land that we bought. But United bought a different plot of land, and this plot of land obviously doesn't include the Freightliner land. So I'm imagining that the club are hoping that the government, who are going to be responsible for helping generate the regeneration around the new stadium, are going to help basically bankroll that deal or get Freightliner out of whatever they're doing and holding the land and being difficult. Because this stadium is not being built where they said the stadium was being built originally. So where they said the stadium was being built originally is right next to Old Trafford, and this stadium's going to be built a little bit further down. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, some people will be unhappy with that already because they'll be saying that they don't want to change their match day experience. They don't want to, obviously, walking down St Busby Way and all these things. People don't want to change these things, and I understand that because it is an experience. But it's still going to be relatively local to where Old Trafford is now. It's still not going to be like too far away, but the club said this as well. They said, we are committed to building a world-class stadium with our supporters, not just for them, with the atmosphere, affordability, accessibility at the heart of our thinking. That's Colette Roach, Manchester United Stadium Development and CEO. Now, I think that is just lip service. There's absolutely no way in the modern consumerist world that this stadium is going to be built and it's going to be affordable for your everyday season ticket holding match going Man United fan. There's just no way. And that is just the truth. Like, and I think anybody who's lying to themselves thinking that it is, you just need to accept that it's not the case. And this is why I think a lot of people have had pushback with the stadium. I think that is genuinely the main concern. When Ineos have been at the club for such, like, the past 2 years, and all they've done is sack people, lose people's jobs. And then, obviously, they have made improvements on the pitch and they have made improvements to the training ground and things like that. But everything's almost come at a cost. And I'm sure that fans will be thinking, what's the cost of us losing Old Trafford to gain this new stadium? What's the cost? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it is a really interesting and divisive topic amongst United fans. And I just wanted to get on here and kind of talk about the news and kind of give some of my thoughts about it now. I think United do need to move into the future And I'm just gutted that the stadium's got to the point where it can't really be recovered or fixed. Do you know what I mean? The Glazers, deserve all of the hate that they get for letting the stadium get to the point that it got to. Obviously, there was difficulties with the railway, and there was difficulties with the actual construction of extending Old Trafford even further. But I'm sure that there's a way to do it. I mean, Real Madrid redid the Bernabeu. I'm sure if there's enough money and there's a will, there's a way. But yeah, I mean, the last question that I've got with regards to this stadium is just how are Manchester United going to pay for this and be a team that competes at the top at the same time? Now, I remember Arsene Wenger getting a lot of stick from Arsenal fans whilst the Emirates was being built, because Arsenal didn't spend a lot of money and he only ever kept them in top four. They didn't really compete for titles and stuff like that. But when you look back on that job, even with Pochettino and Spurs and their new stadium getting built, when you look back on the job that they did do well to manage to achieve to consistently finish in the top four without dropping off, and also being able to build a new stadium. But that's not going to be the expectation of Man United fans. Man United fans are going to expect us to compete for the title, as well as build this new stadium that's the best stadium in the world. So how are United going to get the money? How are we going to get the money? I really am intrigued for this. Obviously, they refinanced some of the debt not too long ago. So maybe that's got something to do with it, who knows? But I just want to know how United are going to get the money, because it's all well and good me saying we need to move into the future and we need to build this new stadium and all these things. But if we don't have the money to do it, we're not doing anything. And I don't want to see the team spend 5 or 6 years in the lurch, no investment, struggling, trying our best, and then getting close and getting knocked back because we don't have the money to buy the player who can take us on to win that title or anything like that. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see us penny pinching to afford to build this new stadium. Like, as much as I do think we can move into the future, Old Trafford is still good enough for us to be competing as a top team, in my opinion. So it's not an absolute necessity. Do you know what I mean? What I do think is a necessity is for United to get back to the top and to be competing for titles again. So we need to make sure that if we are going to spend a lot of money and energy building this stadium, that there's enough money and energy to build the club back to where it needs to be. There's no point having a 100,000 seater stadium and being a team who can only finish 8th in the league. There's just no point in it whatsoever. Let's sort the team out, and then we can worry about stadiums and all of this stuff. But I need to see United competing at the top, and that's my #1 priority. As much as like I said, I would be excited for this new Old Trafford, and I've had a season ticket in the old Old Trafford, so I'm lucky enough to be one of the fans who's seen and been to Old Trafford a fair consistent amount of times. But that doesn't mean I'm one of those fans who believes that we should never ever move from Old Trafford. Times do move on, and I understand that. So I don't want to be too old-fashioned and say that we can never leave. But we just need to make sure we're still fighting for trophies while we're building that stadium. So those are my thoughts on Manchester United, the Manchester United stadium news. And I do think, hopefully, if we get this window right, we can be competing. And then kind of, as you're competing, if you consistently finish in Champions Leagues and you win titles and you win trophies, then commercial revenues start to grow. The club becomes more of a viable partner for sponsorships. Obviously, you win more money in prize money as well. Plus, fans will be absolutely desperate to get a season ticket at a new Old Trafford if United are absolutely smashing teams out of the water like it was, you know, Fergie in the 90s. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's a really interesting one. But I want people to get in the comments and let me know, especially if you're a United fan or a season ticket holder, how do you feel about United moving from Old Trafford? I love the place, and I do think that it's honestly it's an amazing place. But I do think we need to move on into the future now. Even Real Madrid and Barcelona have renovated their stadium, so yeah, it's just something to think about. But yeah, thanks for watching the video. Please make sure you like, share and subscribe. Obviously, with the World Cup, I've been looking at the World Cup and just been debating what videos I want to do, trying to be a little bit more selective in this group stage, because most of the teams from the group stage are going to qualify for the knockouts anyway. I mean, there's only like there's only a few teams who can go out in this group stage. So I feel like the World Cup really starts when we get to the round of 32, but it has been a good tournament so far. I've got another video coming up on just the World Cup so far in general, and basically who's had the best tournament, what's going on so far, who's been one to watch, who's been a bit of a disappointment so far. So keep an eye out for that coming on the channel. But yeah, this has been me talking about Manchester United's new 100,000 seater stadium project. Thanks for listening. Please like, share and subscribe. Get in the comments and let me know below what you think about Old Trafford and what you think about United developing and building a new stadium. Thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe, like and share. I've been Sick FC, aka Sick Boy Joseph, aka whatever you want to call me. Take care. These boys don't make a splash. Greedy with a ball.